as we carry on, we talk about pride that is associated with arrogance. So pride is a self-exaltation. It is, you are the most important person, but also it takes pleasure for you to be satisfied that everything is centered in you. So that's pride. But actually, just to add a little bit more to understanding of pride, there is arrogance. And the arrogance is a feeling important and superior. I think we on our last video, I talk about raping somebody is a superior, kind of thinking you're more important. Your need, you know, raping is actually a wild thing. Your mind is totally close up to what is right. You're going to force through to get what you want. So arrogance is that. So pride can be sexual abuse. Pride can be dominion over your wife and beating up your wife. It can be any violence or anything. So you can see here, arrogance has come with superiority and violence. But think about all these things. We're talking about mental health. We're talking about what is going on in the mind of man that is destroying them physically, spiritually, mentally. We cannot just say, oh, well, it's only this. It's because I feel like this. Most of the feeling that is associated with this is either to center in the self. So arrogance is a feeling more important, but there is a superior, there is dominion. You know, for someone to come and steal and rob somebody, is actually they feel they're superior. And that's what Satan does every day. So pride has been used by Satan himself to destroy people. But we'll come back. It's not only going into pride and arrogance, but it says it's wickedness. What is wickedness? Wickedness is evil of the sinful nature. It's also a profound evil. You commit it consciously with willingness. So it's actually, wickedness is actually, it's a sinful nature. What is the evil sinful nature? Whatever the nature want will get it. I want that and I must have it. I want that wife, I must have it. So people have that kind of building from pride, arrogance to wickedness. It's take over. It takes over the human nature and the behavior is immoral. The behavior is not knowing what is right or wrong. So when we're thinking about this, pride is actually something that is built up and stir up. It says in Proverbs 11 verse 2 to 3, this is what pride is. When pride comes, it's boiling up with arrogant attitude of self-importance. So when pride is in a sense of human being, it's stir up, you know, it's boiling up. Boiling up with what? Arrogant, feeling superior, feeling like you can be in control of all things. And then there is a self-importance that comes with it. And then it says here in the Word of God, then come dishonor and shame, but with the humble, the one who is teachable, who have been going through trials and molding them and learning to humble themselves before God, they have wisdom. So it's a contrast of two things here. One, that pride will bring dishonor and shame. So pride, arrogance, and wickedness, and it's what you want in the flesh, and as we talk about the nature of the flesh and not knowing what right and evil. These things will bring dishonor and shame. Most of the thing that goes on in our mind is actually with the mental health. It actually not only to degrade ourselves, but the shame and fear and sometimes you hate yourself to a point that you want to kill yourself. And this is what it's boiling up to. This is what is going on in the heart of those who have pride. So we talk about pride as a center of the self. The center of the self is the most important thing. The center of the self is to worship the self and exalt the self. The opposite of that is to worship God. We were supposed to worship God. We were created to worship God, not to worship ourselves. And the psalm here, the Proverbs 11, verse 2 to 3, the Proverbs said here that where there is pride, where it's boiling up, the arrogant and the self-important, there is a dishonest coming. But then it says, but with the humble, the one that is very teachable, the one that is humble before God, the one who walk in humility and worship God, not themselves. God give them wisdom. And what was the wisdom was all about? The wisdom is to give them a sound mind. So a mind that is all about pride and worshiping the self is a destructive mind, or a mind that is not settled. But the mind that is worshiping God or humble before God, there is a sound mind. It says here, they have integrity and moral courage. They do what is right. They do what is right. We want to see healing and mental health, but we need to understand the two mind. There is mind of wisdom, which is humbling before God, and there is a mind of pride that is to worship the self. We're going to talk about these two because in here, the mind of God, the way the mind of God works, and in the book of Daniel, we will look into what the trouble mind can lead you to become an animal mind, and then what a mind that is worshiping God can lead you back into a proper mind. A healed, a sound mind, and integrity of doing the right thing. I know it's a big topic. I know it's huge. But I believe God wants to speak to us. I believe God wants to speak to us. You know, to me, my interpretation of pride is this. Pride is not wanting to be God. It's actually is not wanting to be God, but actually just we want to be above God. We don't want to be God only. We want to be above God. And I will read the Word of God, and we're going to talk about the Word of God. We're going to see how the mind of God think about these things. Pride generates more sins. Pride leads us to a destructive behaviors. In the book of Romans, it talks about pride. It talks about God's wrath against sinful humanity. It says they neither glorify God nor give thanks to God, but their mind is fertile and foolish heart were darkened. They claim to be wise, but they're fool. So in the book of Romans chapter 1, it talks about how people who think they know God, but actually not. Because why? Because the mind is where the measure of everything that is going on in our heart Jesus came to die on the cross to heal our heart, to restore our heart to worship God. But actually, God in Romans, he says that starting that we worship not only human being, but we worship animal. We have turned what as normal. You know, it talks about man passion for man and women passion for women. So you can really see here the pride of worshiping ourselves and self-centered. It grows, it's multiply, it increase. So pride actually multiply. So pride is also talk about exchanging God's glory with immortal things. We are changing God to a tree, to worshiping idols. But then God says, I gave them over. If you want what you want to satisfy your flesh, God said, we'll let you go. But the danger of letting us go, mentally, physically, spiritually, the damage that happens to our mind. It's amazing that we can really look deeper into this and see where the original disorder of the heart. I love our God because this is how our God works. This is the mind of God. He doesn't control us. He doesn't do remote control on us. He doesn't tell us what to do. He gives us a free will choice. And the thing I like about what I said before, wickedness is committing evil, consciously committing evil, willingly. That's what wickedness is, a freedom to do whatever we want to do. And I love it that God himself is giving us a free will. We need to remember that he didn't just give us the free will yesterday. He gave us the free will in the beginning. So in the beginning, we knew that he gave the free will to Adam and Eve to choose not to eat or eat, to obey or disobey. Because the whole thing about this, the disobedient is a pride. Disobedient is a pride. Because what? Because you want to be centered on us and a human being. Where there is pride, we want it to be. The attention is to worship us and taking our worship from God to ourselves. So that is the first disorder of the soul. And as I said before, that pride is also an excessive self-important. Pride is also multiply sin and increase. You know, in John 1, chapter 2, verse 16, for everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life comes not from the Father, from the world. Who is the father of the world? Satan. So it's already reminded to us that pride of life is the lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. And what is the lust of eye? Everything the eye sees, wanted, will do it. Whether it's to thief it, to force it, to rape it, you will get it. The lust of the flesh is anything that makes the body feel satisfied, have the pleasure. We see sin. You know, it's quite hard to say that we all go to church and we want to do the right thing, but when you can walk away from the church and continue to sin and continue to lust for the things. Jesus died on the cross. And like I said, we can be an animal and walk in the flesh and the lust of the flesh. But Jesus died on the cross. He will bring us back into our mind once again. I'll come back.